Hello everyone and welcome to today's Cambridge University Press ELT webinar. I'm Alistair Horn from Cambridge University Press ELT and I'll be moderating today's session along with my colleague Lucia Dacic. We're here to help with any queries you may have. Now I'm very pleased to welcome as today's presenter Caroline Nixon. Caroline has been teaching English since 1983. She's co-author, along with Michael Tomlinson, of 6 primary box titles from the Cambridge Copy Collection and of the Primary Course Kids box. She gives teacher training workshops in Portugal, Spain and England. Michael, who's also with us, has been teaching English since 1989 and has worked in the UK, Turkey, Spain and Sweden, and has also led numerous teacher training talks and workshops in Europe, South America and Asia. Over to you, Caroline.
Well, hello everyone, and as Alistair just said, welcome to our webinar today. Thank you for taking the time to attend. And as Alistair's also said, Michael, my co-author, is here with me offering technical support, but today I'm the one who's going to talk. Okay, well, from the title of the talk, you can see that it's strategies really to help our young learners. When I say young learners, we're looking at learners from 5 to 12 years of age, trying to help them to gain strategies for a more effective communication in English. Okay, for our talk, we're going to divide this communication into 2 areas. Okay, one is what we've denominated as speech therapy, which looks at phonics practice, and that is the reproduction of sounds and reproducing sounds as accurately as possible. And then we have talk therapy, which is the more conscious and cognitive personal formation of ideas and concepts that are exteriorized through speech. Okay, so talk therapy is the one that really connects to the brain, whereas speech therapy a little bit is that which connects through the ear and the mouth. Okay, that's quite simply how we've decided to present this. It's our own personal analysis of the situation. Okay, and so hopefully by combining these 2 elements, we will achieve effective communication and help our pupils to achieve this also. With the combination of the correct pronunciation and strategies for expressing themselves, there is actually a kind of 3rd element to communication, which is actual human interaction. And through also another element of effective strategies, humans should actually, or people, we should actually be able to communicate better with each other and more harmoniously. So to give an example of these 2 different strands of communication, and I like to use little stories to illustrate what I'm trying to express. When I was 9, at home we had a pet bird, a little green bird called Georgie, and Georgie could speak. So he was quite content to sit in his cage and say, "Pretty boy Georgie, pretty boy Georgie." That is what I would call speech therapy. He had learned to reproduce human sounds, but he didn't connect with his brain. So I was fascinated by this, and at age 9, I tried to creep up to his cage and interact with him, saying, "Hello, Georgie, how are you today?" And not once did he ever say, "I'm fine, thank you, Caroline." That's how I'd like to describe the difference between these 2 different aspects that we're going to be looking at today. Leading also to the 3rd idea that of all other animals, of course, humans, we have this terrific capacity for speech, which has been developed over millions of years. And how do we use that capacity? For example, I've attended birthday parties where children have just banged a glass on the table and said Fanta. And I think that communication and effective communication also means helping our younger learners to use a more effective approach towards these social situations. So it's so much better and more harmonious to say, can I have some Fanta, please? And I think all of that is integrated into this idea of communication. So we'll be looking at all aspects of that today. Okay. As we are looking at teaching younger learners, one of the most effective means that we have found as teachers of expressing our ideas and eliciting responses from pupils is through song. The medium of music not only appeals to those with a more kind of musical intelligence, but also breaks down barriers. It helps children to feel relaxed. Even the shyest of pupils will tend to participate in a song where they might be more reticent about participating in an ordinary, more classical type of activity in the classroom. So here we can see our presentation of the song, highly colourful, a nice child-friendly picture. So we're hoping to engage the child who's also more visually intelligent through attractive materials. Okay, we would start by talking about the picture. What can they see? Okay, so we have a very friendly alien. How many mouths? How many eyes? How many hands? How many legs? And then, can they see a boy? Has the boy got 3 eyes, etc.? So we would talk our pupils through the picture to help them to understand the key vocabulary that they're about to hear. And once we're clear that they do understand that it's body parts, then we would play the song for them.
Page 42. 5. Listen and point. Sing the song.
I've got 4 arms, I've got 4 hands, I've got an orange head. I've got 3 eyes, I've got 2 mouths, I've got 6 yellow legs.
I haven't got 4 arms, I haven't got 4 hands, I haven't got an orange head. I haven't got 3 eyes, I haven't got 2 mouths, I haven't got 6 yellow legs.
I've got a friend,
I've got a friend.
I've got 4 arms.
Okay, so the song plays itself through twice, then that gives children a second opportunity to become familiar with the words and to participate more easily. Now, one thing is listening to the song and singing along, that's great, but we also believe that if children actually become involved with the song on a physical level, if they're given the opportunity to get up and they're given a justification for moving around freely in the classroom, then so much better will the song and the words be anchored in their memory. Okay, so we have choreographed some actions to go with the song, and this is how the actions go.
I've got 4 hands, I've got an orange head. I've got 3 eyes, I've got 2 mouths,
Well, sorry about
Sorry,
that.
Caroline.
We don't.
Sorry, Caroline. Is that the
It
wrong
was the
video?
video.
Or...
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, apologies.
Is there any chance
So
of
just one
changing
moment.
it? That's fine.
Yep, no problem. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Apologies for that, everybody.
3 eyes, 2 mouths, you can do all the silly movements you like, let your hair down. And I've got 6 yellow legs. Try not to kick the people next to you if you want to get a smile. You need a bit of extra space. Move it. And...
Do you want the music?
Yes, please.
I've got 4 arms, I've got 4 hands, I've got an orange head.
Okay, Caroline?
Okay.
Okay, over to you again, Caroline.
3 eyes.
Oops. Okay. So there you can see some of the actions of the song. Children in Spain, there is an expression which says growing flesh is moving flesh. And I think that's so right, that when we're teaching younger learners, we can hardly expect them to sit still in their seats throughout the entire lesson. And they're so grateful to be given an opportunity to dance and sing, and they really let their hair down. And well, I think you can see from the video there, Michael and I also really let our hair down. And this is one aspect of teaching that I absolutely love. I mean, where else can you have the opportunity to have such fun in your work, in your place of work? Certainly if I worked in a bank, there is no way I could get up and just start singing and dancing my heart out at the customers. So what a great job we have. And with the laughing and the singing and the dancing, as children participate, there is that feel-good factor which really helps them to enjoy what they're learning. And this is so important. It's really important that children engage with their subject, that they live it, they feel it, they enjoy it. And it's so much more memorable for them. And another aspect of the song here, which is like the third invisible strand that I mentioned earlier, is the celebration of diversity. That here there are 2 friends. They are completely different. They don't have to look alike. They don't have to be even the same color, have the same number of legs or hands, or have any physical similarities at all. And yet they are friends. Okay, I think that is a really important part of education and an essential part of communication. Okay, so why start teaching children at a very early age how to be effective communicators? It's important because young children are, sorry, I think I might have clicked, no? Okay. Young children are far more receptive at this age. Okay, it's much easier to get a child of 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 years of age to repeat sounds in a fun way. You could have them hissing like snakes to get the sound very easily, and they would thoroughly enjoy it. It wouldn't be so easy to try and get adolescents to make those same sounds individually. So one good reason for starting to teach pronunciation and phonics is that we have the children really very much on our sides here. They are receptive, they're good imitators, and usually, except for the shyer pupils in the class, they are much less self-conscious than adolescents, certainly. So what problems do they have? Obviously, they have the problem of interference from their first language. So we have completely different sounds in English from the first language. The second language may not totally coincide with the sounds. And with this, it's especially good, I think, to remember that if a speaker of a second language is perfectly well making themselves understood, we're not so much interested in eradicating the first language accent. Okay? It isn't important if we all have different accents. In fact, many speakers of English as a first language have completely different accents, not just within the United Kingdom, but for example, the difference between America, North America, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and it's perfectly acceptable. Accents are acceptable as long as they don't interfere with the sounds as to render the speaker incomprehensible. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Then we have interference on a different level, which are the false friends, the words that look the same in the first language, but are different or have different meaning in a second language, causing sometimes comical misunderstandings. So we try to eliminate these different interferences and give our pupils the confidence and the security to want to express themselves through speech without feeling that they're being overcorrected or making too many mistakes. We have to give a bit of a free rein with mistake making. It's more important, I think, to develop confidence at this level and motivate our pupils to want to speak. If we overcorrect, we are going to demotivate them. So we must try to avoid that a little bit. Okay, so for this purpose, it's very important to create a sympathetic classroom environment in which children do feel that they are safe, that they can express themselves without too much censure, and that other children's behavior towards them also has to be slightly supervised. We have to create an atmosphere whereby children feel that they can speak freely, and if they make a mistake, then nobody's going to laugh at them. We also need to create bonds. Young students like to know about us, so if we exchange personal information with them, then again, they are much more interested in learning about us. So to try and include personal items in the classroom, to try and personalize this communication as much as possible. Obviously, the classroom offers us a wonderful opportunity to use everyday vocabulary and everyday language in a natural environment. So we really want to take advantage of not only can you repeat that please, whose turn is it? It's my turn. Can you pass me a pencil please? I haven't got a pencil. May I go to the toilet please? Even, for example, when a child sneezes, if we say bless you, then automatically they connect the sneeze with the bless you, and we can encourage them to further engage in that conversation by saying thank you, and we have a little dialogue going on. Bless you, thank you, etc. So really try to make the most of a classroom situation to teach these natural interactions, because what we're trying to develop as well is this spontaneous response to a language input, which I like to call linguistic reflexes. That sorry, don't worry about it, excuse me, sorry, it's okay. All of this interaction which we try to achieve with a degree of naturalness in the classroom. So try to foment this as much as possible, and using posters around the classroom to help children to remember the different formulas. Okay, and motivation. Usually I find that children are very keen to speak in the classroom. It can get a little noisy sometimes, but if they're genuinely using the tools that you've given them and trying to speak in English, then I think an element of noise is acceptable and tolerable, although sometimes as teachers we might feel that it's all a bit chaotic, but they're going through the learning process, and once they become more competent at the task at a higher level, it will become less and less chaotic or noisy in the classroom. So it's very important to use activities which are level and age appropriate to help children to feel secure and confident at the task that they have in hand. So again, we're looking at children of 6 to 8 years of age, and we're going to try and encourage them to reproduce certain individual sounds accurately. Then we're going to ask them to compare and contrast sounds, and then we're going to move towards working on individual sounds and relating them to spelling, which obviously would be for children at the higher end of the spectrum. They're more competent and older. So on a very simple level, for children of 6 or 7 years of age, we're going to contrast here two sounds, s and sh, and help them to see them both in writing and to reproduce them, and to work through different steps to be able to recognize these sounds autonomously, first collectively and then working through to autonomy as they gain in confidence throughout the task.
Pupils Book, page 68. 9. Monty's Phonics.
Hi, I'm Monty. Repeat after me. S, s, 7. Sh, sh, sheep. Sh, sh, shop. 7 sheep are sleeping in a shop. 7 sheep are sleeping in a shop.
Okay, so first things, it's quite important to sound these phonemes. So we can say s, 7, sh, sheep. So children can hear the sound individually and then hear it connected with the rest of the word. Then we have this little tongue twister, 7 sheep are sleeping in a shop. So they can practice that. They'll hear it 3 times, each time a little faster. So as they gain in confidence, it gets the fun element increases as they have to say it faster each time. If you see that your pupils have had difficulty with this sound, you can do different things to help. You can start saying it backwards. Shop, a shop, in a shop, sleeping in a shop, are sleeping in a shop. Sheep are sleeping in a shop. 7 sheep are sleeping in a shop. So that they're not repeating the same phrase to the point that it becomes boring. We need to use different strategies to try and repeat the same sound, but doing different things. Okay? So they've practiced the sound, they've said the tongue twister, we've had a little extra support where it's needed. If it isn't needed, then we can happily move on to a kinesthetic activity. Because again, Michael and I are strong believers in that I do and I understand. So we have asked children to use two different actions. If it's s, we do a sleep action, and if it's sh, we do a shake action.
Sleep. Shake.
Okay, so then again, children have an opportunity to stand up, move around. This helps to release their anxiety. If some children are a little bit worried about what they're doing or they don't fully understand it, it kind of takes the sting out of learning English. Some children are anxious about this. In fact, some adults are anxious about it. I know I get very anxious about things. I'm anxious now. And we can't underestimate that nervousness or anxiety. Okay, so we're trying to help our pupils to release their fears and do this in a very learner appropriate way and a fun way. So after practicing, we can then give them some words. So for example, shoe, and ask them to respond by repeating the word and doing the action, or 6, etc. So we can make a list of words that they know: shell, she, words that they're familiar with. Try and choose vocabulary that they already know, because then it's more meaningful for them, and they can practice their different movements and try and catch them out. For example, you could put in phone, put in a word that hasn't got the sound at all, and see their reaction and have a bit of a joke with them. I always play with my students. I try and keep them from becoming automatic in their responses, keep them thinking, keep them on their toes, occasionally try and catch them out, and they occasionally try and catch me out too. And that's half of the fun of teaching. So we've scaffolded this activity. Scaffolding is meaning that we mean that we give a support at each step. We take it one step at a time to help our pupils work towards autonomy. So then they're able to listen and write individually on their worksheets or in their workbooks, and as they hear the words, they can write the sound.
Activity book, page 68. 7. Listen and write s or sh. 1,
sheep,
2,
shoe,
3,
7,
Okay, just to give you a brief example, that now we've translated that sound to the written word to try and help children to hear it even as they write it, so that hopefully later on their spelling of English will also benefit from understanding the sounds. So this is at a level of maybe 7 years, and then now we want to make it a little bit more complicated. So
4,
chip,
this now would be for perhaps 9 or 10-year-olds. And what we're looking at here is that we're translating the same sound, which is to two different spelling types, that the sound is the same, but the spelling is different.
5.
shirt,
Pupils book, page 82. 9. Monty's phonics.
Hi, I'm Monty. Repeat after me. Purple. Bird. Girl.
Okay, so again, the structure is the same. We sound this vowel, and children can see it with its different spelling patterns. Then we extend the sounds to the spelling patterns. We can ask children to identify other words that they know in their own mental repertoire from memory. What other words do they know that have these sounds? And as we can see here, curly, burn, girl, 13. So UR is IR is OR, word or worse, is EA, pearl and herd, and her and person and personal are also examples of different spelling patterns for the same sound. Then, again autonomously, we could ask them to play a game in pairs. So here, divide the class into pairs A, B, A, B. A can circle the word which has the sound with, for example, pencil, and B can circle the word with the sound with pen. You can give them 2 points for each correct word that they circle, and -1 point for the words that don't contain so that we can avoid them from making wild guesses. Okay, so here they have to discern. There you go, discern also says discern between the different spelling types and to identify the words with Okay, and now moving on to this more abstract engagement of the mind aspect of communication. So usually when we talk, it's highly personal. We talk about ourselves, we can talk about our family, our feelings, our emotions, and this is what we aim to encourage children to be doing in the classroom. Even if they look at a picture, they can express an emotion about that picture. They can tell us if they like it or they don't like it. But again, this type of activity must be highly structured at the beginning for the younger learner to give them the confidence to move forward. It's very important that we move forward confidently and that it's also fun for them. Okay, we can do different types of communication activities in class. We can organize our class in pairs, as we've seen with the game before, A, B, A, B. We can work in small groups, perhaps to do a mini interview in groups or to get a survey, or as a whole class as a debate. What do you think about this? Do you like this? And we could open a whole class debate at a higher level again with older students. So at a very simple basic level, only using pictures, so pupils don't have to actually read or write. Again, it takes that element of anxiety where a child feels that they're working on their own, and so they might become anxious about what they're expected to do. Quite simply, they colour their pets the colour that they want. So there we have the personal aspect. They can choose their own colour. They have freedom to colour those animals whatever colour they like. And then the communication aspect is to ask their partner, what colour's the fish? Well, in this case, the answer is it's blue, but Michael and I coloured our fish green because we're a bit like that. We don't always follow the rules too strictly, I suppose. Not a bad thing either. So here children have a real purpose to the task. They've got their secret coloured animals and they want to tell their friend what colour they are, or they want to ask to get the information to colour their animal the same. And we're developing student autonomy, and we're also helping to develop correction autonomy, because afterwards, as a pair, they can compare their worksheets and correct it themselves without too much teacher interference. And it is very important at this level, with this kind of activity, as I've said before, to really stand back a little bit and let them get on with it and do it. And try not to overcorrect, walk around the class offering help and support where necessary, but without too much teacher interference. And for this activity, really all they have to do is support their worksheet on the back of a notebook or their book, colour in with their crayons and face each other. They only have to turn their chairs to face each other to ask and answer the questions. It's a very simple activity to set up in the classroom, and yet really I can't stress enough the importance of doing it and the importance of starting off with this kind of habit at a relatively early age. Now, for the first couple of times, no doubt you will remember me as you're doing it, because it will be noisy, it will be a little bit chaotic, but each time you do the activity and you say A, B, turn your chairs and face your partner, they know automatically what they have to do, and they just do it. It's quite difficult to understand that when you're first doing it, but later on, believe me, it pays off. Okay, at a slightly higher level now, involving reading and writing, we're going to do another communication activity. Again, A and B, each child has their shop, their market stall with their goods, and the other pupil is going to ask them for those things using their shopping list. So, have you got any onions, please? Yes, I have, or sorry, no, I haven't. So again, we have a real life situation here where children love to role play, and we can even include a bit of realia here and get them interacting and acting out this little scenario, and again filling in the information that their partner has, which is secret to them. So they have a real motivation to get the information from their partner. And again now, at a higher level, we're looking now at pupils who are 11 and 12 years old, small group communication activity where they're going to interview people using the prompts in the box at the top. Where were you on Monday afternoon? I was at the sports centre. So each child now has the opportunity to engage with their memory and to remember where they were, or to invent where they were, but they're giving information about themselves which is now much more personal and thus more gratifying for them. Okay, obviously, translating communication activities of this kind, we integrate them also into the Cambridge Young Learner exams. And what's the motivation here? Children are highly motivated to take these exams. They're a bit anxious at first, but afterwards, with sufficient practice, they really do find the achievement factor very rewarding, and obviously the receipt of that certificate. And also parents are very happy because they can see their children's knowledge actually being measured and quantified, because sometimes parents can't really, for example, if they go to a shop and they buy a kilo of rice, they know they've got a kilo. But when they're investing in their child's education, well, it's quite nice to know whether they've got a kilo or half a kilo, I suppose. And this is one way of them actually having a measurement of their child's knowledge. So we can work towards this speaking part of the Cambridge Young Learner exam.
Pupils Book, page 92. 1. Listen and correct.
The boy's wearing a green shirt.
The girl's eating a watermelon.
Okay, so children here listen to the prompt and engage in the correction of it. And by correcting and having a reason to speak, they're forming sentences and they're engaged almost without being aware of it. And thus we work towards we work towards the Cambridge exam and greater autonomy. So again, a pair work activity, one pupil, it's spot the differences. One pupil can say there's a melon on the table, and the other pupil says no, there isn't. In picture 2, there's a pineapple on the table, and they can listen and interact with each other with the help of a picture and a prompt. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, a very real reason for communicating is the social and human interaction, which for Michael and I is fundamental. I think that if the learning of a second language has any validity at all, which it has of course it has an enormous validity, it is actually the ability to be able to travel and communicate with people from other countries and other walks of life and interact in the correct fashion with them. So here
Trees.
Sorry?
Page 47. There are some burgers on the table. 3. Listen and point.
Let's play.
Okay, let's play pears. Okay, you start. Look at 2 cards.
A kite and a sofa. It isn't a pear. It's your turn.
Okay, my turn. Look, a sofa and a sofa. It's a pair.
Good.
It's my turn again.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so through play and through game playing, children can also learn to play nicely. So taking turns, being a good winner and a good loser. I think it's actually easier to be a good loser, but to be a good winner is also something that children need to learn, and they need to learn how to interact with each other socially in an appropriate way, so that as they get older and go towards adulthood, these things come more naturally to them. Okay, so before playing a game, make sure that children know the rules, that the object of the game is clear, and they know the language that they need. Again, this is a very real way of interacting in a second language in a fun way. Another game, as children get older, we're showing the progression as pupils gain more autonomy in their speaking skills. Other resources, obviously, using stories. Children can act out the story. We can use puppets to help children to interact, theatre, and the technology that comes with course books or using things that we find on the internet, YouTube, CDs, DVDs, etc. All of these can be used in the classroom to help foment greater communication skills. And the whole idea of puppets and using a child-friendly character where they feel motivated and protected to interact with a real dialogue. So here we have a little activity which is called Talk to Mask Man, which is one of the characters, and children have the opportunity to hold a little conversation with him, either individually at home using their own CD-ROMs or collectively in the classroom.
Page 23. 10. Talk to Mask Man.
Hello! Postman! What's your name? How old are you?
That's a secret.
Point to a white eraser. What color's your chair?
Okay, so here we can see that children have a character that they can, in their own fantasy, in their imagination, they can actually believe that they're talking to that character. And we're repeating those structures that we want to develop, these linguistic reflexes. And what do I mean by linguistic reflexes? That when I say to one of my pupils, "How old are you?" they don't say, "I'm fine, thank you." They will say, "I'm fine, thank you." They'll say it quite a few times. But with constant repetition, with different ways and different formats, "How are you?" "I'm fine, thank you." "How old are you?" "I'm 7." Okay, so the prompt, the question prompt, is responded, and the way I responded to correctly and spontaneously. And I sometimes think that this is a bit like throwing a ball. When I throw a ball to maybe a 4-year-old child or a 5-year-old child, they don't know how to raise their hands and catch the ball. So it'll probably just bounce off their chest and roll to the floor. But after constant repetition, throw the ball, then the child can not only learn to catch the ball, but accurately throw it back to you. "I'm fine, thanks. How are you?" And then I can say, "I'm very well, thank you." And it's like we're throwing a ball to each other. And each time the ball throwing gets a little bit more difficult and the player becomes more skilled in their returning of that ball. And again, this kind of interaction in a conversation type scenario leads us towards the written word and children being able to more readily understand the correct response to the written answer. So this is a part of the reading and writing exam in Movers. And if children have learnt to develop these responses spontaneously in a speaking situation, when they read them, they will actually read as correct or incorrect. It will be like a visceral response or reaction to which is the correct answer here. So again, to conclude, I think it's really important to start now, to start with children. The sooner the better. Here we've been looking at the age range between 5 and 12 years of age. By the time they've got to 12 years of age, with some of these strategies and techniques well implanted, we can almost dismiss the reticence that will invade them when they become adolescents, because they've developed the speaking habit. And that's what we're working towards. We're working towards overriding that adolescent reticence to enable them to continue to progress through to being competent speakers in young adulthood. And of paramount importance to us, the fomenting of a positive learning experience. Children enjoy what they're doing, they do it with confidence, and they memorize what they're doing far more easily. Well, that's the end of my little workshop, my webinar today. Thank you all again for taking the time to attend. Have fun teaching and listening to your children talk in the classroom.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline. And it's time now for questions and answers, and we've got a few questions in already. First question's from Patricia Tinoco, who's going back to the very entertaining song with the gestures that you talked about quite early in the webinar. And she asks whether it's imperative to use the gestures mentioned in the song, or does it also actually help students English if they're just playing other instruments while listening to the song? Is that a value? Caroline, can you hear me? Okay, we seem to have a problem with Caroline's microphone at the moment. If you just keep typing questions into the chat, and we'll get Caroline back as soon as we can.
Can you hear me now, Alistair?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Great,
yes,
thanks,
am I
Caroline.
back? Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Gestures with the, sorry, I'm answering the first question here. The gestures with the song, no, nothing's imperative. There is absolutely nothing that should be imperative in a classroom. I think the teacher is very much the captain of their own ship, and teachers can do and decide to do, if we have a teacher's book, we can choose to follow some of the suggestions and choose to completely disregard some others. I quite often disregard myself, as it happens. So it depends how you feel on the day, and it depends how you feel that you're going to, a particular activity is going to go down with your class. Gestures in a song, I've always found them to be useful in that they anchor the words and the vocabulary in the memory of children. So if we say hands and they use their hands and they move their hands, and if we say legs and they move their legs, I've often found that gesture is very useful as a memory tool. Certainly, if they wish to play musical instruments, I think it's a question of striking whatever balance works for you in the classroom. If you find that children find it more memorable to use instruments to play a song, then do whatever works for you.
Okay, thanks very much, Caroline. Another question now from Mohammed Azurkan, who asks, how can I involve or engage my pupils using dialogues as the main activity to develop their communication skills? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, again, because working towards dialogues really is moving towards discourse. It's a kind of free speech. It's like the difference between jumping out of a parachute into a safety net or jumping out of a parachute with a parachute that's going to open about 10 seconds. It's a kind of free fall thing. So I think that the most important thing is to clearly explain to pupils what the object of the activity is and to structure it in such a way that they feel that they have the linguistic tools that are necessary to be able to carry out that dialogue. So that we have worked towards this and it's been structured appropriately with the vocabulary and the particular grammar structure that they need to carry out a dialogue. Because if we just talk about anything, that's actually quite difficult to achieve. To move randomly, what did you do last weekend? I went to the beach. And what did you see at the beach? Well, I saw a whale. That is actually, that requires a great degree of competence and a great degree of access of different and varied vocabulary and grammatical structures. So I would really take it one step at a time and work on one particular structure at a time, I think.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. A question now from Logoshko, Catherine Logoshko, who asks, the parents of the children that she teaches ask her to give them homework, and they're 7 and 9 years old. Do you think that's necessary? And what suggestions do you have for useful and constructive homework at that age?
Yes, you see, homework is one that's quite tricky because this is difficult for children because it's where they feel most alone, where they have very little support, and it's where anxiety can be the greatest, learning anxiety, and also the need to do it properly, to do it well, because the next day their work's going to be judged. I can also understand the parents wanting children to do homework because they're keen on children having extra practice and wanting to progress. So I think, again, it's a question of striking a happy balance here. I think give them something for homework that's going to practice the language, practice their English. That's going to satisfy their parents. It's going to consolidate what they've learned in the class, but make it fun. So what they're doing at home is, for example, a crossword, a word search, maybe using the CD-ROM that has an interactive game so that children can feel motivated to actually want to do whatever it is you're asking them to do at home. But I think it's very important there to get the parents on board too, because if they see their child working at the computer with a game, they might think that they're not actually working at all, that this doesn't count as homework. So it might be an idea to have a chat with parents and to explain that there's a lot of consolidation that can be done at home, even with parental support, putting on the CD-ROM and helping their child to play the game, or offering technical support, or if they have some knowledge of English, interacting with the child as well, practicing the songs, asking the child to show them the actions of the songs. Homework doesn't have to be sitting down with a notebook and pencil. Homework, I think, can be a great fan of different things that we can open up and choose from.
Great, thanks. A question from... that's great, thank you. A question from Patricia Tanoko, who says, sometimes the enthusiasm of the children manifests itself more in them actually excitedly speaking in their own language rather than in the target language. What advice have you got on actually getting the students to speak English, to focus on that?
Okay, again, I would say structure the activity so that the fun element is actually communicating with each other in English without the need to speak in Spanish to give and share the information that they have to give and receive. Okay, if they feel the need to speak in their own language to give and receive that information, then perhaps we need to go back a step and restructure the activity. I teach in Spain, so I constantly say, no Spanish, speak in English. And as I'm walking around the class, I'll say, no Spanish, speak in English, and try and foment that. I think if they're using Spanish to talk or comment about the activity outside of the activity afterwards, because it's generated their interest or enthusiasm, I would give them 2 or 3 minutes to get that out of their system. But I would strongly encourage children to only use English during the course of the activity. I think that is quite important.
Thanks. That reminds me of when I was teaching slightly older students, but I used to get them at the start of the semester to calculate how many minutes there were in a week, and once they'd done that, I explained to them that that number minus 90 was the number of minutes in the week that they could speak in their own language, and that the 90 minutes that we had in our class was when I would like them just to speak English, please. But another question from Claudia Zaletta. Oh, sorry. Please, thank you.
No, I was going to say that with younger learners, the interaction in English and this giving and receiving of information in English successfully is actually its own reward. They do find that very stimulating. It's almost like they're talking in code or a secret language or something, because they still don't fully understand that, oh my goodness, I'm speaking this language and this person understands me and can react accordingly. It's quite exciting.
Yes.
Sorry, the next question.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. I'll try to squeeze in a couple of very quick questions. So Claudia Zaletta, going back to sort of pressures from parents, actually, it says that her students' parents want to see results on paper and wonders how she can evaluate them. They're aged between 5 and 7, and the parents are putting pressure on to get results and stuff that they can judge. Okay,
well, again, with simple pictures, you know, children can do lots of different listening activities. A picture. So if we have a picture of a chair, picture of a table, picture of a pencil, if our theme is classroom vocabulary, and they can listen, colour the table red, it's a red table. Colour the pencil blue, it's a blue table. But you could equally do that with a horse, a cow, a chicken. We can do it with animals, we can do it with classroom vocabulary, simple black line drawings that children have to colour. And once they've coloured them, they can talk to you about those pictures. They can say the cow is black, the horse is brown, etc. Or we could put 2 different pictures on a page. Obviously, if they're 5, I don't know what their reading and writing skills are like. But if we're looking at just simple pictures, then we could say, with 2 different pictures on a page, draw a line. Okay, the pencil is on the table, and they have to draw a line from the picture of the pencil to the tabletop and put a little point or an X, so that they've put the pencil on the table, they have reacted to an instruction in English and responded to it on paper, and they're still listening and speaking and showing that they've understood English. And they can talk about what they've done. They can say, you can say, where's the pencil? It's on the table. Where's the book? It's under the chair, because they've drawn the picture from the picture of the book, draw a line under the chair, and ask them not only to work on that, to respond to it through drawing, but also to talk about it. The book, where's the book? It's under the chair. And we satisfy parents. It's on paper.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Sometimes parents would probably need to be in the classroom to see some of that, which is why perhaps working with a CD-ROM at home to get parents on board so that they can actually see their children singing songs, working with songs, doing things, working with the games and interacting with English, so they can see their children's progress.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Caroline. I'm afraid that's what we've got time for today. But don't forget that we've got plenty more webinars coming up. Now, next week's webinar with Lynn Durrant, I'm afraid we're having to postpone. That will now be on December the 2nd, but we'll send out more information about that very soon. In 2 weeks' time, then, will be our next webinar, when Ben Goldstein and Paul Driver, authors of our new book, Language Learning with Digital Video, they'll be joining us in investigating ways of integrating video into educational tasks, and talking about some of the benefits of using learner-generated video inside and outside the classroom. On November the 18th, Stephanie Dimond-Bayer will be suggesting some ways of using images to stimulate learner engagement, and then using images to build your lessons around. And on November the 25th, Face-to-Face author Gilly Cunningham offers some practical and fun ideas to help students revise and retain the language they've learned. Now, you can sign up for all of those webinars on our via our blog or via our events page, and we'll put links to those. There's some of those in the chat already, but we'll put those links in again. And we'll be sharing the recordings on our YouTube channel and on our blog. You can keep up with all the news on our Facebook page and on Twitter. So that's all from me today. Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you also, Michael, who's been answering some questions in the chat and helping out. Patricia. Yes, I'm afraid the webinar on Tuesday the 4th, we've had to postpone that, so that will now be on December the 2nd. But we'll be sending out information about that very shortly. There may be another webinar to take that place, but I'm trying to confirm that at the moment. So thanks very much, everybody. Thanks particularly to Caroline and Michael.
Thank you, Alistair.
Thanks very much,
Thank you as
Caroline.
well, Alistair. Thank you very much for inviting us, and thank you everybody for participating with us too.
Great. Thanks very much, everybody.
And good luck with
See you
your
in 2
teaching.
weeks' time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.